All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a piece of tech that, honestly, it feels like it's been ripped straight out of a sci-fi novel.
I mean, really think about that for a second. What if you could do that? We're not talking about just generating a static picture or even a pre-made video. We're talking about a fully interactive, explorable world that comes to life right from your own words.
Well, on August 5th, 2025, that idea jumped from fiction to reality. Google DeepMind announced Genie 3, and it's basically the first big step in that direction. This thing is a huge leap forward for AI-generated worlds. So let's get into what makes it so, well, revolutionary.
So what are we actually looking at here? This isn't just another image or video generator. No, this is a whole new breed of AI model.
Okay, so the official term DeepMind uses is a general-purpose world model. Now, let's unpack that. General purpose means it's not just for one thing. It can cook up a massive, unprecedented variety of environments. And the really crucial word? Interactive. You can actually get in there and move around.
And this is the part that's just absolutely mind-blowing. It does all of this in real time. We're talking 24 frames per second at 720p. Now, to put that in perspective, that's basically video game speed. You can navigate and explore smoothly, just like you're playing a game, except this game didn't exist until you typed a sentence a few seconds ago.
Wild. All right, so let's see what this thing can actually do. The DeepMind team dropped a bunch of prompts they fed into Genie 3, and honestly, the results are pretty spectacular. This is where we go from theory to, well, magic.
Okay, check this out. The prompt starts with a serene Irish landscape, and then things get crazy. It suddenly trembles violently, as if the earth itself is being torn apart, and turns into this brutalist, surreal monument. This shows you it's not just painting a pretty picture. It understands change. It can model these huge dynamic events over time.
And it's not just for fantasy worlds. It's also a time machine. Look at this prompt. Exploring the Palace of Knossos on Crete as it would have stood in its glorious heyday. You can literally walk through history, through places that vanished millennia ago. Just think about what that means for education or for historical research. It's incredible.
But it's not all serious historical stuff. It can get wonderfully weird and creative, too. The prompt was just being a lizard, origami style, and that's exactly what you get. The key here is you aren't just looking at an origami lizard, you are one, exploring a world that fits that whole aesthetic. The artistic range is just wow. And here's where we see its handle on some really complex physics. The prompt is for a first-person perspective of someone navigating difficult terrain in the middle of a volcanic area, with smoke and flowing lava. So it's not just making a picture of a volcano. It's simulating the experience of being there, the difficult ground, the smoke, the moving lava. The level of interactive detail is just nuts.
Okay, so seeing all this is amazing, right? But it begs the question, how on earth does it do that? Let's pull back the curtain a bit and look at the magic that's happening behind the scenes.
So, the key concept here is what's called a world model. Now, the best way to think about this is it's an AI that's learned the basic rules of how a world works. It's not just about what things look like, it's about how they behave, how physics works, and how everything reacts when you do something. It's basically simulating cause and effect.
And that is what makes Genie 3 totally different from a standard video generator, like Google's own Veo. A video model, it just renders a single fixed clip. It's not interactive. Genie 3, on the other hand, is building the world in real time, frame by frame, and it's constantly reacting to what you do. That's so much harder because if it gets one little thing wrong, one tiny piece of physics, that error can snowball and the whole illusion falls apart. It's a massive technical hurdle.
So how did they pull it off? It really comes down to two huge breakthroughs. First, that real-time interactivity we talked about, the ability to basically redraw the world multiple times a second based on your input. And second is something they call long horizon consistency. This is the world's memory. It can keep things physically consistent for several minutes. So if you turn around and walk away from an object, it's still there when you come back. That's crucial for making the world feel real and stable.
Okay, so making these incredible interactive worlds is, well, it's amazing. But believe it or not, that's not even the main goal here. The real purpose behind Genie 3 is actually way more ambitious.
And this quote from DeepMind really gets to the core of it. They say world models are a key stepping stone on the path to AGI. That's artificial general intelligence. And why is that? Well, think about it. If you want to train a really truly smart AI, you can't just stick it in some boring, limited simulation. You need an unlimited curriculum, an infinite training ground.
And that's the real game plan here. The main goal is to use Genie 3 as a kind of ultimate virtual sandbox for training other AIs. For example, they can take a generalist AI agent like Google Sema, pop it into a world that Genie just created, and teach it how to do complicated things like, figure out a maze or go fetch a specific object.
And here's where it gets even cooler. Researchers can mess with the AI agent mid-task using what they call promptable world events. They can just type a command and suddenly make it start pouring rain or have a bridge collapse right in front of the agent. This lets them test how adaptable the AI is. It's basically the ultimate what-if machine for building AI that can handle the unexpected.
Now, as mind-bending as all this is, we gotta stay grounded for a minute. DeepMind is being very, very clear that this is early days, and they're talking a lot about the current limitations and the absolute need to be responsible with this tech.
So yeah, it's important to remember this is brand new research, not some polished consumer product. For now, what an agent can actually do in these worlds is pretty constrained. Trying to simulate more than one agent at a time is still a huge challenge. And, it's not perfect. It struggles to create clear text, it can't perfectly copy a real-world place, and right now, you can only really interact for a few minutes before the world might start getting a little weird and inconsistent.
And DeepMind is really hammering this point home. They say that foundational technologies require a deep commitment to responsibility from the very beginning. They know how powerful this could be, and that open-ended power is exactly why they're taking things so slow and deliberately.
And that's why you and I can't just go download this and start playing with it. It's being released only as a limited research preview, and only to a very small select group of academics and creators. The whole point is to get feedback and really understand the risks before this ever gets a wider release. It's the definition of a walk-don't-run strategy.
So with all of that in mind, the incredible potential and the necessary caution, what's next? What does the future look like for a technology that can literally generate new realities? Well, the potential applications are just huge. You can imagine everything from game-changing educational tools to hyper-realistic simulators for training surgeons or pilots. But really, its biggest impact, at least for now, is probably going to be training other AIs. It gives researchers this endlessly flexible world where they can teach robots and autonomous systems, and more importantly, where they can safely test them, find their weaknesses, and see how they perform before they're ever let loose in the real world.
So in the end, this technology isn't really just about escaping into fantasy worlds. It's about building brand new sandboxes that can help us understand intelligence and maybe even reality itself in a whole new way. And that kind of leaves us with one final, pretty fascinating question to think about. As we learn to build all these new worlds, what are they going to teach us about our own?